All right, guys, what is going on today? We got a long video to get through today. It is going to be Brandon Boudreaux today. Um, this is something we kind of went through the other day. The last trial, and basically what happened was it was a lot of information, and Brandon has a very different perspective because Brandon saw things from a completely different way. And so I really do want to. Oh, shoot. I didn't know I was playing. I want it to be clear that I really do feel for Brandon, and I think he had a completely different thing he had to go through. And it's a hard situation because he was involved in this whole thing, and he had a shot taken at him. So this is really sensitive, and I don't know if that really, I'm sure that comes up at some point, but it's this is hard, man. It's a hard thing to have to go through, and I really don't know how to put it into context how much I feel for everybody, but Brandon has a very specific, obviously, place in my heart, and this is a very hard subject for him, and he had to do things that are just really hard to do. So with all that being said, good to see you guys. Don't forget to enter the giveaway. A few more days. We got 5 more days till we announce the winner, and we are going to go from there. Love you guys. Are you guys getting audio? There we go. What's up, everybody? Wait, are you guys not hearing the trial? You can't hear it? Hold on. Let me fix it. Give me a second. My bad. Hold on. You're going to be tight with me for a second. I don't know what's happening if it's not working for you guys. Kelsey goes, what's going on? I'm so sorry. You guys didn't hear it that whole time? This thing is so ridiculous sometimes. Can you hear it now? Let me play it.
Have any children?
You
I
guys
did
hear
add
it?
4.
What are their ages?
You
4.
guys are just... Kelsey's like, what the frick? Hold on. Let me go in and make sure you can hear it. This whole time I've been playing this trial thinking you're listening to it. Let me fix this. Okay, let me play it.
13, 10, 8, and 7.
And how long were you married to Melanie Boudreaux?
I was
So the video was playing, but you guys couldn't hear it.
married
Okay,
to
my
her
bad.
for about 10 years.
Right. And you mentioned earlier that her maiden name was Cope.
It was, yes.
And are you aware of her current last name?
There we go.
Pulowski.
My bad.
What year did you marry Melanie?
2008.
And during that time, did you have occasion to meet her family?
Yes, I did.
I want to specifically ask about, did you meet the Cox family?
Yes, I did.
And who were they in relation to Melanie Boudreaux?
They would have been her birth mom's family, extended family.
And who in that family did you meet?
I met Janice and Barry Cox, Adam Cox, Summer Shiflett, Lori Vallow, and Alex Cox.
And so what was Lori Vallow's relation to Melanie Boudreaux?
She would have been Melanie's aunt.
And what was Alex Cox's relationship to her?
He would have been her uncle.
So they were your aunt and uncle-in-law?
Yeah.
Did you spend much time with Melanie's family?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time together.
In what capacity would you spend time with them?
We spent holidays together. When they lived close to us, we probably see each other once a month. When they were more distant, we would travel to each other's houses and stay for a week or two at a time. And then we do trips together. We went to Disneyland a lot together.
And I asked that kind of broadly about her family. Did you have occasion to spend much time with Lori Vallow and Charles Vallow?
That Lori and her kids and my kids, we would go to Disneyland a lot. We would hang out a lot. We did a lot of things together. It was just kind of part of our lives.
Okay. And I said Charles Vallow at that time. Was Lori Vallow married to Charles Vallow?
Yes.
And how well did you get to know Lori and Charles?
I would say pretty well, very well.
And you mentioned your family spent time together. You said you went to Disneyland?
Yeah.
And would you spend holidays together?
Yeah, often.
Would your children spend time with her children?
Yeah, my son Braxton was very good friends with JJ.
This is really hard to go through because Lori had a really close relationship with his son, and yeah, this is not an easy subject to get to. So, and then JJ was really close with his son and family and their kids. So, not something that they lost that. They lost all that.
Bonded, and my daughter as well, right?
And how old was Braxton as compared to JJ?
He's a couple years older.
And were you aware that JJ had some special needs?
Yeah. JJ had autism. Everybody who was around him, it was easy to tell. Early on when he was younger, he was nonverbal for a while. And so he had like all this energy, but he didn't know how to use it. So you said be prepared for that. You set your house up for it when he'd come over to our house, or when you went to Lori and Charles, they spent a lot of time making sure that it was a safe place for him and that everything was kind of handled for that. And then as he got older, he started learning how to talk, and he could say things. And similarly, he would rephrase things over and over. When he wanted to play with my son, he'd always say, go to Braxy, and he called my daughter Fridays instead of Bridie. So Braxy Fridays. But
and so you said Braxton was a good playmate for JJ.
Yeah.
Did your family spend time with Tylee Ryan?
Yeah.
Tell me about your relationship with Tylee Ryan.
She's a good girl. She was, I knew her when she was little, and then all the way up into being a teenager. So she was a normal teenager. She had her moments where she just wanted to sleep in late and no one to bug her, watch too much Netflix, and other times where she'd open up and she's sweet, and you got to know the real Tylee. So you got a little bit of both.
And did she interact with your children as well?
She did, yeah. Often would babysit them, or she was a little older than my kids, so she would naturally be kind of more of a, she had good motherly instincts, with them.
Did you ever observe Tylee with JJ?
Yeah, she was very protective of him.
And did you know Colby Ryan?
Yeah, I do.
Speaking of Tylee, did you yourself have any special sort of religious connection to Tylee Ryan?
I did. I baptized her.
Okay. And when you baptized her, what church was that in?
In the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And so to your knowledge, Tylee and her family were members of that church?
No, that's
yes.
heavy. So just so you guys kind of have a background here, I've known Brandon since I was 12. And that's, yeah, it's a long time. And so Brandon's really been a part of our lives, part of my life, I guess I'll speak for myself, for a long time. And so that is a real relationship, and he was around a lot. And they, at one point, were right down the street from us, like not that far. I could walk to their house, just to give you some context. So, in that early part of when we first moved from Texas to Arizona, we were really close and we were excited because all of the family kind of had gotten together. So everyone was together, and that was very rare. And, that just wasn't normal. And so that's that was a big deal for our family to have time together. But, it's a significant thing in the LDS church when you're 8 years old, if you choose to get baptized or you're ready to get baptized, that you get baptized. So it's a big deal. Like that's a significant moment in your LDS life that you'll always remember. And so for Brandon to be the one to do that, was because I think at that time, Charles was, there was a reason Charles couldn't do it. And so Brandon did it. And that just shows you like, that just is it's a big deal when it comes to stuff like that. So just for some context there.
I want to talk a little bit about Melanie Boudreaux and Lori Vallow. Did you have occasion to observe their relationship?
Yes, I did.
And was that over a span of years?
Yes.
What was that relationship like?
Melanie's mom died when she was young, and she had an awesome stepmom, but I think she also looked a lot to Lori as a mother figure. So she, in our marriage, at least, she was very easily influenced by wanting to do things. It's why we went always to Disneyland with Lori. It was just kind of, she always wanted to be like Lori and spent a lot of time looking for her acceptance.
Okay. And you testified that you indeed spent a lot of time with them.
Yes.
Did you know Charles Vallow?
Yes.
Did you have a relationship with Charles Vallow?
Yeah, we had a really good relationship.
Tell us about that. What made that a good relationship?
We just had similar personalities. I think both of us, we loved what we did for work. We loved owning businesses and selling. And he was very much a producer mentality type of a person. And besides that, I think we both loved our faith and had a lot of gratitude that we had. I think of us spending time just talking about how grateful we were to have our families and be in a position where we were in life.
And you said you had some common ground in business. What did you do?
I built a direct TV sales organization, and he did life insurance.
You'd mentioned traveling to each other's homes. Where did that happen?
It depended throughout, that 10 years is a long time. And so they moved, they never owned their houses. They rented, and they moved a little bit more often. And so they lived in Hawaii for parts of the time, and we would travel out to Hawaii to see them. Other times they lived blocks from us in Arizona. I lived in Arizona throughout that whole time.
Okay. And would they sometimes stay at your house when they came back from Hawaii?
Yes. Yeah. When I was first married, Lori actually came up and stayed with us in Utah as well when I had a place there.
So just to give you guys, again, not that you need me to, but just to simply put it, Lori was very involved in their lives. And specifically Lori, because Charles, oh shoot, I didn't turn those lights on. Charles and Brandon both worked. So they were gone a lot, and they were, selling, and they were doing their jobs. They were providing for their family, but they were gone a lot for work. And so Lori's very deeply involved in the home, like showing up. Like I remember as a teenager waking up and, having some of Brandon's kids either there, one of his kids there in the mornings already, because Lori went and picked him up. So I'm just trying to give you an understanding of the intimacy and the fact that like this is hard for Brandon too, because this is someone you've known for a really long time, that completely turned on you and changed. And so Brandon has his own perspective. I'm not going to give you his perspective, but I just can see like how hard this whole thing is, obviously, for him too. And Lori was very involved in their lives too, as a motherly figure,
And yeah, I believe you mentioned that you would spend holidays together sometimes.
Yeah. Often like Christmas, Thanksgiving, we would major holidays, we'd end up meeting at somebody's house and doing it together.
Do you recall the last Christmas that your family, the Boudreaux family, and the Charles and Lori Vallow family spent together?
Yeah, it would have been 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And was that a typical Christmas?
No, it was different.
Why was it different?
Um, in 2018, our families were changing. That particular Christmas, I wasn't as aware of everything that was going on. But when we went there, when you spend that much time together all the time, you don't have to say anything. You just know from each other's body language. And when you show up places, when you do things, it's just, you always feel welcome. You feel loved. You feel close. It's like you can pick up right where you left off. And that Christmas, when I was over at Lori's house, there just felt like a lot of distance. There was, and usually just the family. It was just like the Coxes and the Boudreaux. And that Christmas, there was someone named Melanie Gibb who was there. Who, she was a stranger to me, so it was kind of different to have a stranger at Christmas. And there was really not very much conversation with me, or a lot less focus on my kids. And
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I can give him that. And when we went, like, first of all, again, I always go back to this place because it's so hard. You think about, like, that was the last time we were ever going to be together in a room. Like, that was it. That was the end of all of that. And so, you can never know it's your last time being with somebody. But it was weird. And Kelsey's in the chat saying it was weird. It was a weird thing. And none of us really knew how to handle that situation, because so Kelsey and I obviously had just gotten married earlier that year and showed up too. So we were kind of like, we weren't in the home. We didn't know what was going on. Like, we showed up like everyone else. And yes, this is the Christmas slow with the roller skates and Melanie Gibb. No one knew Melanie Gibb. Like I told you, no one had met her that I know. At least I had never met her. My cousins had never met her. Tylee, I don't know if Tylee had even seen her yet. Like, this was her first introduction, and her first thing to do was rub Kelsey's belly and get in my face about this far away and tell me that she's like a second mom. I'd never met her. So things like that. But it was for all of us because there's a vibe. You can pick up on it, and everything was different. And Lori's sole focus was Melanie Gibb. And it was just very uncomfortable. So I think everyone was kind of in their own clique almost, in a sense, instead of like normal. And someone said, was Alex there? Yes, Alex was. I want to say Alex was there. I don't remember. But at that point, the house was so big that it was almost like sectioned off. So you either went outside, you stayed in the middle, or you kind of went near the movie room. So I don't really remember where everybody went. But like me, Kelsey, and Tylee and my cousins would like to play games and stuff. So we'd find the first opportunity to run off and like start playing a game somewhere else in the house, or like get a game out and start interacting. So, but it was different. It was a very different Christmas.
and the kids that Christmas.
So when you say less focus from who?
Oh, from Lori.
And how was her interaction with you and your family different than before?
Yeah. Lori was pretty like doting. When my kids would come over, she would make them feel loved. She would, just try to spoil them with presents and attention. And
Christina, I kid you not, I think yes. And I don't think we had ham. Because when there was a big party, so just so you guys have more context, our family, once we moved to Arizona, was really the host of the family parties, because we had a pretty big house. And so people came to our house. So we would just do all the preparations, the cleaning, all that stuff. And then people would come over. Once Lori learned how to make those enchiladas over in Hawaii is really when she started making them. So I was 18 or 19 when she learned how to make them. She'd make them for everything because there's a big group of people coming, and she could just throw them together and have everybody eat that. So I kid you not, it could have easily been enchiladas. Kelsey might remember. I don't remember.
that was kind of her way of letting people know that she noticed them. And that didn't happen that Christmas.
So it was markedly different.
Yeah.
Did you observe Lori and your wife, Melanie, at that party?
Yes.
Do you recall what their interaction was?
I remember leaving afterwards and talking to my wife about how it felt different because it felt so different, and her telling me that nothing felt different at all. Um, so I would say that she felt like it was fine and normal, and it didn't seem to her like it did to
Yeah,
me.
but Melanie and Lori were already in another world. They were already talking about stuff. They were already in another world. None of us knew that. So that's why it's weird, because obviously she wouldn't have felt any different. Um, Brandon asked, is this the same party where Lori and Melanie Gibb corner Kelsey? That actually wasn't at a party. That was when they first moved out of the house that Kelsey and I got married in. We were touring the house when it was empty. And so obviously you're like looking at stuff, like you're like, I think the only reason we went in the freaking bathroom and into the shower, because it was huge. So you're like, go in it and like look at it. And right as Kelsey did that, they like, two of them just Velociraptor Jurassic Park in the kitchen, just like in the doorway and just waiting. You know what I mean? Like just crazy.
Okay.
This was the last normal time ever I had with my family. Call it normal.
Around this time, were you and your wife active in your church?
Yes.
And when I say active in your church, did you regularly attend church meetings?
Yeah, usually every Sunday, unless there's something going on.
And had your family and the Charles and Lori Vallow family, had you ever shared religious activities with them?
Yeah, like I said, I baptized Tylee. We talked about church openly amongst us.
Around that time, so we're talking about the end of 2018, did your wife's activity in religious events change?
Yeah, in the fall of 2018, earlier in my marriage, she just didn't love going to church. It wasn't her thing. I liked going to church, so I was kind of the advocate. I would push a little more. But in the fall of 2018, she got very excited about religion and going to church, and she started talking about how she set this goal that she was going to go to the temple every single day.
Okay. And so
Every day.
around the fall of 2018, her attitudes appeared to change.
Yes.
And you said she wanted to go to the temple every day. What did you think of that?
In our faith, it's going to the temple is definitely something that's important to us. It's a way to kind of to go through a process to remind yourself of promises that you make to God. It's kind of ritualistic, but for me, it's a great thing to do in moderation. You know, I might go once a month, and I think that's kind of a normal thing for a person if they set a goal to go once a month.
Just so you have some context, the temple and church are not the same thing. So I don't want to butcher this, but just to give you guys who are not LDS a breakdown, from what I remember being LDS, I had only been to the temple a handful of times, less than 10 in my entire life. And that's because it's not something you do regularly. You have church Sunday, you have meetings and stuff you can go to, like youth meetings during the week. But like going to the temple is not something that people do. Even if you live right next to it, the normal like range, I would say, is a couple times a month. You're not necessarily going like every day. And so I would say that's not a normal thing to do, is be at the temple daily. The temple is very different than what church is. Basically, I think in the LDS church, the temple, you're prepared by church to go to the temple because you make certain agreements and covenants with God in the temple, and it's very different. You're not just attending a meeting. You're not just going to church. Like going to the LDS temple for LDS people is more like he said, more ritualistic. Like people get married in the temple. But there's like a session you can go in that I think is open. So where you can go anytime you want when it's open and basically take on this, I don't know how to explain it, but that's the best I can give you. Just so you guys have a little more context for like the LDS side of that. It would not be normal, and let's just put it out there. Like it would not be normal to go to the temple daily or like 4 or 5 times a week. That's just not normal.
Just kind of remember, hey, I committed to God to give my life to certain principles. But when it's pretty rare for someone to go every day, it's a lot, especially for a mom with kids at home and a lot of other things that we had as responsibilities. And so it was surprising, I think would probably be the right word. But also for me at the time, I wanted to be supportive. I wanted to show that, I could meet her where she was and help her try to figure things out.
And just for
What's up,
clarity's
everybody?
purpose, in your faith, is going to the temple the same thing as going to church? What most people think of as going to church?
No.
What's the difference?
Going to the temple is something we do once for ourselves. That very first time to make promises to God. It's like being baptized. We go once for ourselves. We make promises to God. And then each time you go afterwards, you do it for someone who's passed on, but it's something that's kind of viewed, like I said, it's maybe a once a month thing, or going regularly is healthy. And I think a good part of anybody who wants to find a rhythm for their religion, but going every day would maybe be something somebody did if they were retired and they just had nothing else to do.
But going to the temple is not your regular Sunday services.
No, we go to a regular Sunday service every Sunday at a church building.
Thank you to clarify that.
I didn't know
And
he
so
was
this
explain it, or else I want to try to explain it just to get it.
I think you said in the fall of 2018 that these changes started taking place.
Yes.
In addition to this daily temple attendance, what else changed in your wife's religious demeanor or attitude?
At that time she started going to these things that she was calling firesides, but weren't things that I would call a fireside.
Okay, so let's clarify that.
Yeah, let's define it.
In your church, if someone says fireside, what do you normally think of?
So inside of our faith, there's a leader of like a group of we call it a ward. So like a group of people who live in a certain geographic area. And so inside your ward, that leader's name is a bishop, and him or one of the other people, like the counselors in the leadership group, at times they might, besides going to church on Sunday, they might set up a meeting that they think might lift us up or encourage us spiritually, and it might be outside the normal times you go. And so they usually do them in the evenings, and they call them firesides. That's something that, you get together, it's under the direction of the church, and ideally it's uplifting. It's something that's going to bring you closer to, your commitments you made when you're baptized to try to follow the Savior.
Okay, and you said that Melanie Boudreaux, and there's multiple Melanies in this case, so I'm going to keep referring to her as Melanie Boudreaux, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so Melanie Boudreaux, she started going to what I believe you testified, what she called firesides, correct?
Yes, correct.
And were these different than what you would normally call a fireside?
Yeah, so I kind of just described what I think of as a fireside, but she was just going to people's houses, and they were doing meetings that weren't under direction of anybody from the church. And oftentimes they were focused on things that aren't things we talk about normally in church.
Exactly.
Some of them were just...
What kind of things?
And that's why we defined them yesterday for you guys. Is like this whole idea of like these firesides, these meetings, these conferences. They're not really conferences. They're usually at someone's house, small groups, and they're not talking about anything really to do with the LDS church, which is why it's kind of confusing to me. Like, you guys obviously wanted like more. There must have been some part of you that wanted more, or you're just don't even know your own religion at all. And so when someone lied to you about it, you didn't really know how, like maybe just it got exciting. And that's what they talk about with like tickling your ears. Like if people tell you exactly what you want to hear in a spiritual context, it's called tickling your ears. It means they're lying to you, and they're basically just trying to make you feel good. But these firesides are usually like bigger meetings with a lot of people that like everyone knows is going to happen at a certain time, like 7 o'clock at night. So a huge group of people show up from church, and you kind of just dive into something very specific at a fireside versus what they're doing, which is going into people's homes, talking about whatever.
I didn't go to them, so I can't say what exactly was talked about, but I can share what came back from them, which was what made me concerned. She came home one time and wanted to get like $10,000 worth of food storage all at once because she was really concerned about the end of the end of times coming, the end of the world coming. And
there you go. Fear-based, right? As if the $10,000 of food storage is going to stop or save you. Like it's so focused on the wrong things. Even if you're LDS, you should have known the red flags. It doesn't make sense to me how they all fell for that.
It just didn't seem very practical to me, and then there was other focuses that she would come home with. She had a fascination with like Jesus Christ, and did he have a family, and why was Jesus named the Beloved? A lot of early Christian, early church things. And so I would share perspective, but I was also, I kind of tried to share with her my
just to
perspective
kind of
on
shut that down. And this is no way to get into a religious debate, but there is no biblical evidence that Jesus had a family. So that's kind of just a theoretical idea that Jesus would have had kids or been married. There's never one mention that we have biblically that Jesus got married. I know that's like the whole point of like certain movies and like pop culture and ideals, but there's no biblical evidence of that.
I served a mission for my church for a couple of years, and I saw some people who fell away from it, and I shared something that I had noticed in that process that those people got really focused on not the core of believing in finding faith in Jesus Christ, but they got focused on things that were really far away from that, and it led to them falling away from the core of their faith.
And you said that you never attended any of these, can I use the phrase alternative firesides?
Yeah, that's fine. No, I did not attend any of them.
Did you ever attempt to?
I did ask if I could, mostly because I wanted to see what was going on in there so I could give her better perspective, but she let me know I wasn't welcome at them.
So she didn't let you go with her?
Yeah, she told me I wasn't welcome to come.
That's weird. Why?
Do you know if Lori Vallow was at any of those firesides?
Yeah, I do. She's the one who invited her to them initially.
Okay. So coming back to winter of 2018, if it's fair to say that your testimony, your wife's religious fervor has changed, and you had this awkward Christmas party. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Did the situation, and you've testified that your relationship between the Chad and Lori family and your family was close. Did the situation between your family and Charles and Lori's family change around that time?
A little bit after, right after, in the new year, beginning of the new year, there was a period where Lori, she did send a message to the family telling them that her accusation was Charles was cheating on her, and that because of this, she locked. She took all the money out of their bank account. She stole Charles's truck, changed the locks on their house. It was very irrational to me.
And when was this?
Yeah, and there you go. I want to hit on this. That all happened, and it to me sold more that it was real, because why would you do all that, right? So I remember, I'll never forget this day. I called my mom, and I'm not getting any answer. I think I called Tylee, no answer. Calling my cousin, no answer. Finally, my cousin picks up, and I start having this conversation, basically just get like a little snippet of information, which was Charles cheated on my mom, and she just found out. And then she hops on the phone and tells me he's been cheating on her. Remember, I told you guys he was out of town all the time. So the claim was that Charles had been cheating for years, like serial cheater for years, because every time he was out of town, he was cheating on her. And that in itself was like really shocking, but I was like, okay, like I was kind of trying to digest that. But then her behavior started to be like, I'm kicking him out of the house. I'm not going to be with him anymore. I can't do this anymore. I didn't even know what was going on. Like, I didn't know about all that other parts of the truck. I didn't know about that. I knew she threw his clothes in the garage, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, and at that time, we need to have context also. I don't remember. I want to say this was in January, right before Riley was born. So right before we had our first child. So I had a lot going on mentally with my family. And at one point I kind of started to believe Lori more, because I was like, look, her behavior is really bad. And it's showing like she wants to get away from him. She can't do this. And then it just got getting worse. And mind you, this idiot of a woman had been cheating on him for a long time. So even if Charles was cheating, she was cheating, and she knew what she was doing. She was planning all of this stuff all along. So it's sick to think about. But for me, my perspective was that she was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this with you. And, I remember Tylee needed to go pick up medicine for JJ right before Lori had to go to the psych ward and get evaled. And that was a big day, because I remember it was this huge thing. Like, I remember I hadn't really talked to Charles, and Tylee needed to go get the medicine, and there was this big fight over that. And so I ended up getting on the phone, and Tylee's there. He doesn't know I'm at his house, and there's this conversation that goes on between him and Tylee. They get in a fight on the phone. So I call him back right there as Tylee's standing there, and he starts to act pretty normal with me. And I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, what are you guys doing? And like, what are you doing? And he's like, look, I don't want you to get involved in this. I don't want this to be, your mom thinks I'm cheating on her. And he throws in there, she thinks that she's a god. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? What do you mean she thinks she's a god? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that makes zero sense. How does she think she's a god? Like, where is that coming from? And all this stuff. And yeah, and I don't remember what happened, but he said, if you guys are there when we get back, I'm calling the cops. And so Tylee's bawling her eyes out. Kelsey's standing there with me, pregnant as can be. We're all like in shock. Like, what the hell is going on? Why would you call the cops on me? I would never hurt you. Like, I'm here because Tylee needed to go get the medicine. I was going to back up my little sister. I had no idea what was going on. Nobody was giving me the context. And I think within that day or the next day, somewhere very, very soon. Oh, no. Lori was getting psych eval'd while we were there because she couldn't pick up the medicine because she had to go take the psych eval. And I had no idea why. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't ask a lot of questions. I wasn't trying to figure out that stuff. And that was on me. I was a young kid, and honestly, a part of me wanted to not be a part of any of it. And that's because at that point, I was a very passive person. I didn't want any part of that conflict. I wanted nothing to do with it. And so, unfortunately, I didn't really ask a ton of questions. Tylee was like, Charles is making Lori go to get eval'd and go, to a psych, get it checked on or something of that nature. And so she had to go pick up JJ's medicine, and Charles said no. And it became this big deal. And then I was really upset with Charles. I don't think I ever spoke to him. Yeah, it looked really bad. Exactly. That's the thing. When Charles told Tylee, before I even called him back, because I hadn't talked to him yet, said that I'm going to call the cops if you're there when you get back. And so that's when I was pissed off at him. Like, are you seriously going to call the cops on my 16-year-old sister who's here to pick up her little brother's medicine while her mom can't do it? But Melanie Gibb went with Lori. And so it was a mess. And I was angry at Charles. I was angry at Lori. I didn't know what was going on. And a part of me wanted nothing to do with it. And I was like, look, Kelsey's about to pop. And, at that day, Tylee's crying. She's scared. We don't know what to do. It's not her responsibility, but she's trying to be responsible. And, I never could ever fathom how bad it really was. And I'm giving you that context right now because in that time, after that whole interaction, I think I didn't want to hear from Charles ever again. And I was pissed off at him. I thought he ruined our family. I thought he ruined my family. And so I was mad at him. And I was pissed off. And then he took JJ, and I was even more mad. And then Lori left and said, first of all, you guys need to understand another big part of this context. Lori didn't initially tell me she went to Hawaii. She just left. That is the first time she didn't tell me where she was going. And guess what? I didn't even really ask questions because when she left for Hawaii, it was already after we had our daughter. And Riley was screaming and having health issues from the beginning. So we were overwhelmed. I'm talking about the screaming all night, every night. We just had our first child. I have no idea what's going on over here. That's their business, not mine. Don't involve me. That's how I felt. So I just kind of dipped myself out of that situation. And unfortunately, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I would have asked questions. I wish I would have talked to Charles. I wish I would have tried to figure out what was going on. But Charles was trying to protect my image of my mom. So he didn't tell me that she was doing all that stuff. He never told me she was cheating. I don't think he did. He never wanted me to think badly about my mom. And so it just is this unfortunate situation where you just take someone's side who was the villain the whole time and ruined everything. But it taught me a lot. to never do that again, and to always try to get both sides and try to hear people out and really learn and think about what you believe. But just to give you guys context too, when it comes to like Brandon, Charles was coming to Brandon and they were discussing what was going on in this whole situation. So Brandon does have a very different perspective than I do, because I was truly, Kelsey and I were both very uninvolved. But it's really hard to stomach. I've told you guys that, like, that's why we did the whole video on survivor's guilt and all that stuff. It's really hard to stomach that I made a decision to not speak with him, and that was the last decision I ever made in our relationship. And to know what Lori was doing, but I can never get that back. So
it would have been like the end of January of 2019.
And how did you respond to that situation?
You know, initially I didn't even know about it. I think she called everybody, but my phone was blocked from Charles, so I couldn't hear from him at all. I found out later.
Yeah, Lori called everyone and said, Charles is going crazy because I left him. Do not respond to him. Do not text him. He's out of his mind because I left. That's what we all got, that call from Lori. Everyone.
Melanie must have blocked him in my phone, but
just to be clear, Charles Vallow's contact was blocked on your phone.
Yes, and I didn't do it. And the only other person who had access was my wife.
Okay. And so you were talking about how you reacted to this situation of, I guess you could say, a breakup between Lori and Charles.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one when you're that close with people, and everybody in the family kind of got drug in and involved in it because it was messy. As far as like Charles really didn't want it to happen. He wasn't looking for it. He was trying to make sure it didn't happen. He was sending us as a group regular emails to try to contact us and work through it and try to communicate, because Lori just kind of cut him off after all that. She just stopped talking to him. She actually left him with JJ and just disappeared for a while.
Do you know where she went?
I don't.
Right. But she didn't take JJ with her?
No.
Do you know how old JJ was at the time?
I can't remember right now. It's been a long time.
So she left. This must have been obviously February or end of January. Yeah, because she showed up sick. By the way, that people think that like, oh yeah, I've changed my mind about Lori because of this. Obviously, yes, but it's through therapy and realizing what it was. Lori was really sick, and she answered the phone really sick. We just had our daughter, and we told her, don't come to the hospital if you're sick. Like, don't come around. And her first thing out of her mouth, this is the shit I dealt with always. She goes, so you never want me to see your baby ever. You never want me to be around her in her whole life. And I'm just the worst grandma ever. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? That's how she was, but it was cranked to like 10. I'd seen 10s, but like, I don't know, maybe more far in between. But like, that was like such a big deal. And it was simply like, don't come if you're sick, because she's a newborn. Don't show up. She showed up with the most hoarse voice, super sick, sniffling. You know, it's just like no boundaries, no care for anybody in the world. And then she left, and she didn't say where she was going. Tylee came home and said, Mom's is in Hawaii. And then we had that conversation. And then she's like, I just had to get away from all of that. It was such a hard thing for me. I had to get away. I had to, I just needed a break from all of it. It's too much. Like her, if you go back and you don't see that other side like we do now, you take away the puzzle pieces. She looked like she just needed a break. She looked like she was trying to get away. But I was pissed at her. And that was the other thing no one knows, how angry I was with Lori, because she just left JJ. She just left him. Like, he doesn't know. He doesn't give no one. JJ doesn't care what's going on in your relationship. JJ is your son, and he needs both of you. So you can't just disappear and not ever show up again. So I kept asking her when we would talk, when are you going to go back? What are you going to do? You need to go get JJ. You need to go deal with the situation. So it was a mess, bro. It was a freaking mess.
But he was still a young child.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't leave JJ. JJ had to be watched all the time. You can leave him alone. He was, when you're watching JJ, it's your whole life. Like, you have to plan everything around it. I mean,
So I'll give you context of what Brandon's saying too. JJ literally, I woke up one time and JJ either would sleep with me when I babysat him or with Tylee. They slept in my mom's room, and I woke up to a loud bang, and so I ran out of my room, and JJ was outside, had unlocked, but got a chair, unlocked the glass door, went outside, and put his scooter in the grill. He didn't turn it on, but had it been another, I don't know, 10 seconds, he could have done something irreversible, right? So you could not leave JJ alone. I know a lot of other kids get in trouble when they are by themselves, but JJ obviously like really, really, really needed to be watched 24/7.
Just for him to come visit, you have to plan everything around it.
And you stated that the whole family got drug in. Did your wife take a position on taking a side?
Yeah, when it happened, I wanted us to not take a side, and divorces are just messy, like there's nothing anybody can do about, like, when you've been together for a long time and you're trying to separate both emotionally, gonna have a hard time going through the process. And so my encouragement was that we didn't pick a side, and we just loved them both, and they made sure that the kids knew that they had somewhere where they could be safe, and our house could be that. But Melanie just kept saying how she was uncomfortable with Charles, and she didn't.
Microphone, please.
We're getting into some hearsay, and Judge, I've been patient, but the narrative is getting a little lengthy now, so I'm going to object on narrative and hearsay at this point.
Sustained.
Okay. Did Melanie Boudreaux demand that your family take a side?
Objection, hearsay.
That's a request, Your Honor. A request is not hearsay.
That is overruled. You can answer.
Yes, she did.
And did you respect Melanie's wishes on that?
I did my best.
And was that because she was your wife?
Yeah, I wanted to stay married. It was really important to me.
And so we've kind of moved on now to the beginning of 2019. Is that accurate to say in
Yes.
these events that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Did you see Lori Vallow much in early of 2019?
Not at all.
And I believe, I don't want to misstate what you said. It was your understanding that she had left.
Yeah, I don't know where, because I didn't have any contact, and it didn't seem like anyone else did. But
Did you see Charles Vallow at all during that time?
I did a few times. We would agree for JJ to come over. play
That's
with my
literally
kids.
like the lost archive of Lori, and the only people she had even interacted with were people who lived in Hawaii.
And so he would come over.
Okay. And Lori was never with him.
Never.
And was she with JJ?
No.
But Charles would come over and bring JJ to the house.
Yeah.
And what would JJ do at your house?
He would just come play with my son. He would, they play video games as long as he could keep his attention on it. Sometimes he just bounce from one thing to another. He'd be all over the house. Braxton would kind of keep his eye on him and play with him. He knew JJ was special, and so he kind of kept that assignment. Before JJ came over, you'd prep, we'd put like little stoppers on the top of all the doors out or whatever to make sure he would try to sneak outside. And then he's so fast that you had to be prepared. So you'd pre-plan some.
I told you guys how fast JJ is. It's not even funny. JJ, when we lived on the golf course in Princeville, our backyard was the golf course, a very, very like well-known golf course in Kauai. And at the end of the golf course, because it's not meant for kids, is a literal cliff. You could fall off of this cliff. And so if JJ ever got outside, he'd run the golf course in the evening, and I'd hear my name, and I knew that my job was to go and get JJ. I would just hear my name screamed. So I would sprint as fast as I could, and that kid would be booking it unbelievably fast, and he'd be beelining it to the cliff. I'll have to show you guys a picture just so you have some understanding and context, but I'm not kidding when I say cliff. Like, the end of that golf course was a drop off and then like the ocean. So it was a huge, giant cliff. And the only way that anybody could get him is if I sprinted down there.
That stuff before he came over, make sure it was ready for him. And then, but Braxton would kind of keep his eye on him, and I would usually at that time, I'd sit and talk to Charles.
Okay. What would you speak with Charles about?
You can imagine someone going through, a divorce they didn't want to go through. He was pretty, I don't know what the right words are, distraught, sad, overwhelmed. It was a lot for him.
Are you aware if at any time there was an attempt at reconciliation between Charles and Lori?
Yeah, I think Charles tried to reconcile. I actually think he stopped at the divorce. He always said that he was going to make it work.
Sustain.
I'm going to move forward to the summer of 2019. Did you have an occasion to take a trip to your in-laws' house?
I did, yeah.
And do you recall when that was?
It would have been in June of 2018.
Do you recall the exact date or approximately when in June?
The week of June, like 23rd, 25th, something like that.
What was your purpose for going to your in-laws?
My wife's younger sister was getting married.
And while you were there,
What's up, Mary?
did anything out of the ordinary happen?
Yes,
What was that?
a few things, but the first thing that happened is my grandfather died of a heart attack.
And were you expecting that?
No,
And so you're at your wife's family's house when you got the news?
I was actually with my parents. We took my family, went to, decided to go to church with my mom and my dad, which is they still live in the same place where I left for my mission on. And we were actually just sitting in the pews right before church started. And my dad got a phone call, and he never gets up and takes his phone calls in church. So he got up and he left. And he came back and he waved us all out. Said,
Your Honor, I apologize.
Go ahead. It's sustain, as you're saying.
It's just some foundation, so I can move on at this point.
Very well.
Did you have any conversations about your grandfather's death with your wife, Melanie?
yes, after he passed away, I waited a day or two. My mom called me to tell me when the funeral was. And I told her that when it was and that I wanted us all to go. And she told me she wasn't going to go.
Sustained. And I'll strike that final
Shut
part of the
up,
response.
Pryor. Shut the fuck up. Sorry. I need to calm down. I'm not going to cuss today like that. I can hold my tongue. I need to chill out with the cussing. I went off a little bit on the deep end. I'm good, Rain. Thank you. Thank you so much for checking in. Yeah, it's hard to listen to this. I mean, like I said, I've always told you guys that a perspective for Brandon is hard because his experience is so different, and it's a heartbreaking situation, and I just don't. I'll never understand his perspective like that, and he was so. I mean, to have it be your wife, your kids, then get shot. I mean, like, Brandon had to go through another level of hell and be aware of everything that was going on all at once. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I just really do truly empathize with him. And I really wish I could. I don't know. I wish that somehow I could make things better. I know I can't. I know this is over. But it's really hard to just feel people's pain when they're talking about stuff, you know?
What was said?
All right. At this point, were you still at your in-laws' home?
Yes.
And did you have a disagreement with your wife over whether or not to attend your grandfather's funeral?
Yes.
Did you want to go to your grandfather's funeral?
Overruled.
Stop
You
objecting.
continue, Mr. Wood.
Yes, I wanted to go to my grandfather's funeral, and I wanted my family to.
While you were having this discussion with your wife, did that escalate into any other type of conversation?
Yes.
Here we
It
go.
escalated into a conversation and an argument that didn't make any sense to me.
What was it about?
Well, she started bringing Lori into this argument, which had nothing to do with what we were talking about. She said that God had.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. It's hearsay.
You're right.
Response, Mr. Wood.
Your Honor, I believe it comes in for the effect on the listener, not for the truth of the matter.
Well, I think just the specific statements are hearsay beyond that, so I'll sustain the objection.
Without saying what your wife the words your wife used. What was the context of that conversation?
We had an argument about whether or not I hacked Lori Vallow's computer.
Did your wife accuse you of hacking Lori Vallow's computer?
Yes.
Did she request that you admit that you hacked into her computer?
Yes, she said that I had to.
Judge, I'm going to object again.
Your Honor,
Sustain.
Your Honor, if I might briefly argue, a request is not hearsay.
Well, a request, if it's calling for specific statements of the party not here for cross, would be hearsay. So
That's what you're
I'm
saying.
not saying you can't answer, but in terms of specifically what was said, that's where the ruling stands.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is why, and I just want to give everybody context. Because Brandon even talked to Charles during that time, they got grouped into this group of you're on the wrong side or you're doing this or you're helping Charles. And apparently, Melanie Boudreaux must have thought that Charles was evil and was in on that spiritual side when it comes to their group. And so obviously they had a whole perspective on that. So that's where that has to come in. That's the only thing. I'm completely speculating because I don't know. I don't remember if they've said this yet. But we know Melanie Boudreaux was involved in this group. And so she obviously was listening to what Lori said. So Lori had her ear. And I'm just going to say this as blunt as I possibly can. Not to be condescending or rude, but like, did you not think about what she was saying? Like, did that not ring off and just make you feel weird? Because everything was about Lori. Everything you hear about Lori, she's the most narcissistic person you've ever seen, because everything that was happening had to do because of her, and everything that got set off in emotion was because of Lori. So I don't understand why Melanie did not question that and just think, why does everything have to do with you specifically? And none of that's LDS teachings. I don't understand it. Like, you're being fed bullshit. How'd you not taste it? That's how I feel.
So that accusation was made.
Yes.
What was your reaction to that?
I just felt really frustrated. I had no idea why we were even talking about it. It had nothing to do with what I was trying to get through to her and what I was trying to talk about. It was like this thing that didn't make any sense to me.
Without going into any specific statements, did Melanie Boudreaux provide any context for why she thought you'd hacked into Lori Vallow's computer?
Judge, it's going to call for hearsay.
Overruled.
Can you ask that question one more time?
Yeah. Without providing any of the statements, she said, did Melanie Boudreaux provide any context for why she thought or why she was accusing you of hacking into Lori Vallow's computer?
Can you ask that one more time? I want to answer it properly.
Sorry, it's probably complicated.
Yeah.
Was there any reason given why she thought you had hacked into Lori Vallow's computer?
Judge, response calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
Just a bare accusation.
Yeah.
To be clear, Mr. Boudreaux, did you ever hack into Lori Vallow's computer?
No.
Yeah, there's so much sensitive CIA material on Lori Vallow's computer. There's so much sensitive stuff on there, other than her cheating with Chad.
Did, in this conversation, did Melanie Boudreaux inform you of anything that God had revealed to her
Judge,
in relation to this divorce?
Judge, I'm going to object. This is leading.
On leading, that's overruled.
Yeah, the argument continued to progress, and I guess she actually specifically said that God had told her.
Judge, I'm going to object. It's hearsay.
It is hearsay.
Your Honor, that this statement is not coming in for the truth of the matter. It's just simply to show the argument and the effect on the listener.
All right. And again, for that purpose, it's not hearsay, but any specific statements where they're not subject to cross, I'm finding are hearsay.
Man, how do you answer that question then?
Without saying the specific statement she said, what did she accuse you of?
Of being gay and of hacking her Aunt Lori's computer.
So out of nowhere, let's just stop for a second. You're married for 10 years. Okay. Out of nowhere, you just go, God told me you're gay. Out of nowhere. And you've been with them for 10 years. I think you would have picked up on that. At some point, you would have noticed that Brandon was gay. But how convenient is it that it's when it serves your timeline and everything to tell him he's gay? It makes no sense. I never will understand that. That came straight from Lori. I just want you to know that because Lori had this weird thing about like telling people that everyone around her was like gay, and like she just like accused a lot of people of being gay. So I don't know why she was like that. Maybe she was projecting. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But that's so wild to be that wasn't, first of all, God didn't say that. It was Lori. And secondly, it's even weirder to believe that he was gay when you've been with him for such a long time. Like you personally would be able to read that, right? I don't know. I'm just saying.
And what was your response to those accusations?
I mean, all of the emotions you would think you feel after 10 years married to somebody. Disappointment, frustration, a lot of grief, a lot of grief.
Did you have any idea that she would make an accusation of homosexuality against you?
No. I mean, I had a thought that it might happen because of something Charles had said, but no, I never would have believed it.
So you have, is it fair to call it an argument?
Yeah.
How did it end?
I mean, it took a long time. It started in the afternoon. It went past midnight, and she went to bed. I just stayed up troubled all night.
Did you send a text to Charles and Lori that night?
I did. I was really frustrated about this whole thing being involved in my relationship with my wife. So I sent it.
It's becoming a narrative. It's non-responsive.
Overruled.
Thank you. Shut up.
So I sent a text to Charles and Lori both, telling them that if my family was broken up and my marriage ruined, it was on them.
Did you ever hear from Lori in response to that?
No.
Yeah. Did you hear from Charles in response to that?
I did.
When approximately was that?
A little bit later, a lot was going on at that time, so I couldn't say like a specific time, but I ended up talking to him on the phone.
Would you say this? Is it fair to say we're still in the late June?
Yeah, it was like the next day, probably at like in the evening.
And what was that conversation like?
He just apologized.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. It's calling for hearsay.
Sustained.
What did you say to Charles?
There you go.
I just apologized to him. Told him I was really sorry about not being there more for him, because now I was feeling like I know he must have felt. And he was really gracious.
Was that the last time you spoke with Charles Vallow?
It was.
After Charles Vallow died, did you have any contact with Lori Vallow?
No, I did not.
After Charles died, did you have any contact with JJ Vallow?
No, I did not.
And after Charles died, did you have any contact with Higley Ryan?
No, I did not.
After Charles Vallow died, what happened with your relationship with your wife?
Oh, we got divorced.
When did that happen, approximately?
We started the divorce right after my grandfather's funeral, but it takes a little while. So we got a mediator right after and signed all the documents. And I moved her into a rental house. And then
Do you know how hard
I think
this
it
would
finalized
be
in October.
to have to do this on the stand after all of this? This has to go public so you can explain how crazy all of this is and how it's interconnected. It's really unfair.
In that process, was there any the home that you and Melanie lived in, did you sell it?
I did.
And did she move to another location?
She did. I helped her get a rental home.
And did you move to another location?
I did. I ended up getting a rental home as well.
Approximately when did you get that rental home?
I got it. I found out the house was sold like the end of September. It looked like it was going to sell. And so I went and found a rental home at that time.
Right. And where was, don't go into specifics of neighborhoods, but what city was this in?
Gilbert,
Gilbert,
Arizona.
Okay. And is that where you had been living the last several years?
Yeah, I moved back.
And so did you, you located a property that, was it close to the home that you and Melanie had been living in?
Yes.
And why was that?
I wanted to make sure my kids had stability. I was really worried about all of the changes.
And were you sharing custody with Melanie at this time?
I was.
What was the situation between you and Melanie like at this point, at the end of September, beginning of October of 2019?
It had changed quite a bit. Since June, she just stopped talking to me. We could text, but barely. There was no connection anymore. And she's very cold to me.
At this point, did you know where Lori Vallow was?
No.
Is it fair to say that probably wasn't the first thing on your mind?
Yeah.
But you hadn't heard from her?
No.
And you hadn't heard from Tylee or JJ?
No.
So we've been speaking about this, your situation with your wife, Melanie Boudreaux, at the end of September, beginning of October. Did anything happen at the beginning of October of 2019 that affected that situation?
Yes.
What was that?
On October 2nd of 2019, someone parked in front of my house and shot at me and tried to kill me.
Okay. Let's talk about that. October 2nd, you said?
Yes.
Let's go to the kind of beginning of the day. How did your day start?
I woke up. I had all my
Live that trauma out here with the person who was part of the plan right there. Next level stuff right here.
my kids at my house. So I got them ready for school, and then I got them out the door. We did our normal stuff, breakfast, prayer, and then I dropped the older two at school, and the younger one, the second youngest, at a preschool, and then I dropped my youngest at Melanie's house.
After you dropped your kids off, where did you go next?
Then I went to the gym.
This is all in that same area, Gilbert, Arizona.
Yes.
And after the gym, where did you go?
Then I drove back to my house, and as I was driving around, my house is a couple houses in on the street, so I made a left in onto the street. And as I was driving, I noticed a few things. My house, the driveway, there was like a Jeep parked right on the edge of it, where I would normally turn in, and there was nothing parked there usually. I'd only been there for a few days, but so far it was always, there was this van there, and like the Jeep was parked with its like bumper basically on the van. And it just looked at that place. It had a Texas license plate. There was no tire on the back of the Jeep. And you know how when you open and close a Jeep, there's like little tabs on the window. Those were sitting on the outside of it. So it just looked awkward. You know, it just was awkward enough that I noticed it right as I turned around the corner.
Okay. So you noticed the Jeep. Did you notice anybody inside of it?
I couldn't tell if there was anybody inside of it. You know, this all happened in such, I mean, imagine coming around a corner, driving a couple house lengths.
Like, this was their plan. Chad's part of this. Chad knew exactly what was going to happen. They were going to all unalive their spouses and then gather together. Like, that was the plan. Like, this all was a group effort. And they sent Alex to do it all. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
It all happened very quickly, and then the window opened up, and I saw a gun and a silencer, and I mean, my window shattered. I heard a bang, you know, all kind of in the same amount of time. And my immediate thought was just, I'm getting shot at, and I, instead of turning my wheel in my driveway, I just pushed the gas and drove straight forward.
What happened after that?
I drove to where my street ended, and there was a turn. And kind of as I came up to that part, I remember grabbing my phone, calling 911, talking to the operator. I went and pulled a little bit around, and there was like a little community pool there, and I kind of parked in front of it for a second. And there's like a loop between my street and the street above me, and I remember I could see on that loop. I saw that Jeep start to come around the corner, and then it did a U-turn the other way. And I think I started to follow it at first, and then I think
Were you on the phone with 911 during this time?
Yes, yeah, the whole time I was talking to an operator.
And you just said, if I understand correctly, that you started following the Jeep.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, at the moment, but
did you notify 911 that that's what you were doing?
Yeah, and I believe they told me to pull around and park in front of my house. So I did, and then they told me to wait for police, and they came shortly thereafter.
Okay. I believe you testified, correct me if I'm wrong, that you had only been in this house for a few days.
Yes.
How many people had you told that you were in this house?
Almost nobody. It would happen very quickly because I wasn't supposed to be able to get my kids as soon as I was, but my wife had agreed to let me have them sooner. And so I had moved everything out of the house that was selling to get them in so I could have them for that weekend with me in my house because I would do anything to keep my kids with me.
So Melanie Boudreaux, you were there. Had you told anybody else?
So I had to tell her when I got the place. I hadn't told anybody else, but my neighbors had seen me moving and they helped me move. So they knew where I was.
So just back to square one. Nobody knew where Brandon was. How did Alex get there? Yep.
Ones that lived by me there.
So had you told any other friends and family yet this was your new residence?
Just hadn't had time to tell anybody yet. It was so quick, and then I had my kids.
So did law enforcement show up?
Yes.
And did you notify them of what had happened?
Yeah, I told them everything that I could.
And when you said your window had shattered, is that your driver's side front window?
Yes, the bullet had lodged up in like the door frame, which I didn't know in the moment, but later you could see where it had hit. And it was just right above like where my head would be.
Inches. We saw this.
And did you describe the Jeep?
We covered his case and his trial and saw the evidence and saw how real it was. And we're talking, here's your head, and in your frame right here above your head, literally barely above it, is the bullet.
To law enforcement?
Yes.
And did you follow up with law enforcement after that? Yes.
When you go through something like that, you spend all day, it feels like, with law enforcement. It takes a really long time. So at some point, like, a detective came over and I talked to him. And then later, as I was thinking through everything and talking with other people that were close to it, I realized that I felt really confident that the Jeep was Tylee's Jeep.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Were you aware that Tylee Ryan had a Jeep?
Yes.
Did you know how long she'd had it?
Charles got it for her during all of this, when he was in Texas, he'd gotten her Jeep.
So when he was in Texas, was that in 2019?
Yes.
Okay. And you had seen that Jeep?
Yes.
Right. And so I don't want to put words in your mouth. Your testimony is that as you reflected on it, you thought more and more that this was Tylee's Jeep.
Yeah, I think I might have called Zach Cox and talked to him too, and he might have had the same thought, and we both were just like, that's got to be the Jeep.
Who is Zach Cox?
Adam Cox, Lori's brother. It's his son. He had lived with Lori and Charles for a period of time, and with me. He's 18, 19 at the time, so he just kind of out on his own. He was working for me. I had given him a job.
Did you take any other steps to identify that Jeep?
Yeah, I was an insurance agent at the time, and previously Charles had given us the VIN number, and so I just gave that VIN number to law enforcement.
Okay. And okay, so you have the VIN number for Tylee Ryan's Jeep?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the number you provided to law enforcement?
Yeah.
And just to be clear, you had that because you were insuring that Jeep?
I didn't end up insuring it. He had just given us all the information. Charles had.
Okay.
So.
Your Honor, I don't know what time the court wants to take the mid-morning break.
This is probably about a good time to do it, Mr. Wood.
Okay.
All right, we're back on the record on CR 2221-1623, State of Idaho versus
That
Chad
was
Guy Daybell,
flawless. I
continuing
didn't even know if they took the break.
direct examination of Mr. Boudreaux, who's still under oath for testimony. I'll remind the witness, the jurors have returned, and Mr. Wood, you can continue with your direct.
Thank you. Mr. Boudreaux, when we left off, we were discussing an incident on October 2nd. And again, I don't want to put words in your mouth. It sounds like you had testified you had come to some opinion as to which Jeep was involved. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And you provided the VIN number of Tylee Ryan's Jeep to law enforcement.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask State be allowed to publish State's Exhibit 9A.
That's previously admitted, correct?
Yes.
Yes, you may publish it.
Mr. Boudreaux, do you recognize that vehicle?
Yes.
Do you know who that vehicle belonged to?
We called it Tylee's Jeep. I believe it was Charles's. I think he's the one who bought it.
But you were aware that Tylee Ryan drove that Jeep?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the Jeep that you saw on the morning of October 2nd, 2019?
Yes.
So as you provided that VIN to law enforcement, did you do anything else in?
I want to know if prior to sitting there thinking, what am I going to do with this situation? Because you know you're not going to win. That's why he just goes in circles. Goes in absolute circles. Gotta earn that property.
In regards to that shooting?
That day or when specifically?
Well, let's start with that day. Did you do anything else? Or let me ask this, strike what I just said. When approximately did you give law enforcement the VIN number for Tylee Ryan's Jeep?
That day.
Okay. And did you take any other steps or did you provide any other information to law enforcement?
I just shared with them who I thought did it and why.
All right. At any point after that first day, did you do anything else looking into the shooting that took place?
Yes.
What did you do?
After you go through something like that, it was pretty traumatic. It took me a little bit to realize that that a resolution wasn't just going to come really quick. Like the police weren't just going to arrest someone, a day or two later, and and then it would all be resolved. So I started trying to figure out things I could do to help assist law enforcement into finding who shot at me. That included hiring a private investigator, going back through any information I had, like old emails, the ones that Charles had sent me.
Okay, so let's talk about that. You said Charles had sent you some emails. When had Charles sent you emails?
He sent me emails. So when he and Lori were going through the divorce, he was sending out emails to the family with things he was concerned about, because he was very concerned about her mental health, and with things that pertain to this belief set that she was building.
Okay. And so that was during the period that Charles and Lori were separated. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And were you the only recipient of those emails?
No, he sent it to all of our family. So any of us who he considered family. So like Janice, Barry, Zach, Adam, all of us.
And so it's your testimony, you started going back through those emails.
I did, yes.
And what was the purpose of that?
I thought maybe if I knew more about what these beliefs were, that now apparently to me it seemed my wife had and Lori had, that I could maybe I could try to figure out more of what was going on, because everything was so bizarre.
And these emails that Charles sent, what was the nature of these emails? Was it a narrative that he was speaking about?
Well, in them I found that a lot of the stuff was being sent by a Chad Daybell, who I didn't know.
Okay. And when you say stuff, what type of stuff?
There was like these documents that talked about like light and dark spirits, and it was like rating my family, like myself, and then my extended family, like Lori's family.
Yeah,
and things
what are you
like
gonna
that.
do over there, you little pendulum
there
holding
was
idiot? Look at him. Look at this. Come on, bro. Yeah, you know you did that. You're ranking a human being on a light and dark list, and people who are dark die, especially when it fits into you and it fits into your ability. Now, a lot of people have said this. We can just address it. You guys say it a lot. I'm lucky that I didn't have insurance on me. The only thing I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I haven't thought that for years. But at the end of the day, I think it would have been a little bit different just because it would have been harder to get to me and not impossible by any means. I know I could have easily been a target, but I think Lori treated me like a golden child. And so I don't know what would have happened. I don't know if she would have believed him, if she would have, like, it's unfortunate because for some reason she's always acted like she loves me the most. If you guys have heard my interview with her, which is on the channel if you haven't, she's very clear that I'm her, like, she's more sad that me and her don't have a relationship than she is over Tylee and JJ. That should put a lot into context for you guys. And so I'm honest with myself and I can be honest with you. I don't know what would have happened if I would have had insurance money on me, because remember, she made me her beneficiary for her life insurance to get the $2 million. So I don't know. I don't know how to really process that. I mean, why would you want to give me $2 million, but you also, if I would have had money, would have tried to kill me to take my life insurance money? Because I was married, so she wouldn't have got life insurance from me. My insurance and my will would have been to my wife and my daughter. So she wouldn't have even got it in the first place. It wouldn't have gone to her. So again, that's kind of just to give you guys perspective on all of that. It wouldn't have made a lot of sense because killing me wouldn't have gotten her paid at all. It would have paid out to my wife and my daughter. So they would have only killed me for whatever other reason. So just thought I'd put that out there.
Invitations to some of these firesides and stuff like that, and information about them that I didn't consider firesides, things like that.
Okay. And did you provide those emails to law enforcement?
I did, yeah.
And did you see your own name written in those emails
I did.
with some type of, did you understand what that was? Like, you said some type of rating. How do you know
Judge,
it was
I'm going to
paid?
object. This is becoming leading, and we haven't had a sufficient foundation to tell us what emails, date, time, place,
Oh, would you like me to pull the document? We'll pull it up on the screen.
year.
It's sustained as leading.
You testified that you saw your name.
Yes.
Was there anything written next to your name?
At the letter D.
After you provided those emails to law enforcement, did you do anything else?
I wanted to figure out more, so I got into Google and searched for Chad Daybell because I didn't know him. So I wanted to see more information about this person that was sending the information.
Right. And what did you find?
A picture of a guy holding 2 hot dogs.
When I typed his name in, an obituary popped up for a Tammy Daybell, and something inside of me was just shocked. I was just.
Did you provide that information to law enforcement?
I did, yes. I called up my detective, Ryan Pillar, at the time, and I texted him.
So just to clarify, you said my detective. Was that your private investigator or a law enforcement detective?
Sorry. Yes, he was the detective at Gilbert at the time that was assigned to my case.
Right. As this process went on, did you ever learn that Tylee, Ryan, and JJ Vallow were missing?
Yes. We were worried about it early on, and I often told Detective Pillar my concerns.
See what I'm talking about, how different Brandon's perspective is in this case. He is thinking and feeling all of this stuff and has a complete, like, because of his situation, which is, I wish we could take away from him, but we can't change the past. But he went through something so different that it woke him up. And so then he's like, okay, what's going on? He went back, he went through the emails. He's trying to figure out what's going on. He starts looking for Chad. He finds out about Tammy. He's telling his detectives that this is all interconnected. Like, he went detective mode and he started figuring things out for himself. And so he's in such a different place than when I was at. And so that's why it's so crazy to hear people's perspectives of where they were. Because I was not in that place. I didn't even know Chad existed till that day they dropped that. I think it was December 19th, basically technically the 20th. Okay. Because it's like midnight. So yeah, you could technically classify that as the 20th. But Kelsey came out with her phone like this and just shaking. And I'm like, what? Mind you, that same day, December 19th, I'll never forget that day. I've told you guys this story before. We went to go see the new Star Wars movie. It came out that day. Right before we went, I got the call that Alex had died. So at the movie, I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, I can't believe he died, but he killed my dad. So there's like this resentment and this feeling like of like all these things. And I knew that they were missing. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know what the plan, like I knew the kids had been like just like a couple of weeks before that, right? On the 27th of November is when the detectives came and asked about Tylee and JJ. So as I'm sitting in the movie, I'm thinking about Alex, but I'm thinking about how he killed Charles, and this whole thing, like just kind of like, what the fuck is going on right now? My mom's missing. The kid, you know, like she won't tell me where she is. She cut her phone off. And then that night, literally after all that, Kelsey comes out, shows me this noob sitting right here next to Lori. And it's a press release, and it says Chad and Lori Daybell, they're looking for them. They live in Rexburg, Idaho. They abandoned their townhomes. No, they're trying to find Tylee and JJ. And I don't think you guys know, and I won't tell her story now because it's not mine to tell, but I don't think you guys know how different Kelsey's perspective was as well. And so she shows me that, and I remember I'm holding the phone. I'm just like in a state of shock. Like, what is over and over, what the F, like freaking out, because it's like all of that was just happened on that one screen, one little couple entries. If you guys could, have ever seen that press release, and it all started from that day. And I have, multiple things start happening after that. All these outlets start showing up. Everyone's trying to figure out what's going on. It's building up because they start to go back and find out about Lori as a person. They find her Wheel of Fortune. They find, who she is, and now they have questions, and they want to know who my biological father is. And then they want to talk about Charles, and it just goes from like place to place. And so the stress of that time, plus the public, plus the media, was a recipe for disaster for our family and our lives. Anyway, we'll have that discussion another time, but absolutely insane to see that. And I had no idea that had happened until that day. And so Brandon was aware. I didn't even know Brandon got shot at. I don't even know when I found that out. It might have been at around Lori's, like when she got extradited back to Idaho. It could have been that far out. I had no idea that Brandon got shot at. We had cut my entire family off. Everybody. After Charles, it was, we don't trust anybody. We have no idea what's going on here. We stopped contacting people. It was scary times, bro. Scary, scary times. And we didn't know who was on what side. It was terrifying. But yeah, it's a different thing. Yeah, we were on Dr. Phil. I've told you guys that story before. That was something else. Probably something for more detail another time. But yeah.
Did you ever learn whether or not JJ and Tylee Ryan had been found? I'm sorry.
I did. Sorry.
And do you remember when that was?
I got a call June 9th of 2020.
Where were you?
My parents' house.
Do you remember who called you?
I don't. I just remember somebody from, I think, Rexburg calling just to let me know that they had found what they were pretty sure was the kids.
Huh. Well, once you got that information, what did you do?
The next day was my wedding, so I was getting remarried.
Wow.
So I got married. And
holy shit.
Shortly after that, I just felt like I needed to go up to Rexburg.
He got married the next day. I didn't know that. Oh my gosh, bro.
I don't know what for. I just felt like I should, so I drove up there.
When you were in Idaho, did law enforcement ask you to do anything as it related to JJ or Tylee?
Yes, they asked me to identify JJ.
I have told you guys before. I have a lot of respect for Brandon for that. He So what happened was we all kind of had to just go to Rexburg. Like we just had to go. And so for us it's a long drive from Arizona. Very long drive. And I remember, you can ask Kelsey, we drove in silence for 17 hours. Like, I don't think we barely talked. No music. It was weird. We just didn't talk. And I get a call, and they were asking if I could identify JJ. And I was willing 100% to do it. And then I get a call back, and they said, it's okay, Brandon's going to do it. And there was such a relief for me, but then also such a heartbreak for Brandon to have to do that, to see that. And be the one to forever scar yourself to make sure that they could identify him. So you guys, I've told you this before, like I always have love and respect for Brandon outside of that, but that one act saved me from a lot more trauma. And, you know, he really showed up and put himself in harm's way just to take that burden on. You can't have enough respect for someone who would do that. So.
And do you recall where you were when that happened?
Where I was when I identified JJ?
Yes.
Okay. It was, I think, outside of Pocatello at an FBI location.
And do you recall the date?
June 11th or June 12th.
Okay. How did they have you identify him?
They showed me some pictures of him deceased. They asked me if that was JJ. And I said, yeah.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
All right. Cross-examination.
All because of this fuckhead over here.
No, I'm okay.
And Alex, all of them. I told you. No zero care. I'm not sparing their feelings anymore. I've always thought I was being respectful by not attacking them. I'm not even attacking them. But every single one of them, bro. All of them. Guilty, sick people would kill, literally kill, to have what they want. That is how selfish they are. So, yeah. All because of these people. All because of them. Because they wanted what they wanted. They wanted to have people's money, their life insurance. They were going to kill Brandon for his life insurance. They killed Charles so they could have his life insurance. They killed Tylee so they could have her life insurance and collect money from her. They killed JJ for the same reason, and they killed Tammy for the same reason. Anything for just to have some money and then go marry someone else new. I don't know how they did it. Zero respect for any of them. Negative respect for all of them.
You mentioned you had contact with Charles Vallow and Lori Vallow quite frequently. Is that right?
Yes.
What was the frequency with which you had contact with Charles Vallow from when you first met him to the time of his death?
What the stupid question is that? They know each other for years. Like I said, I've known Brandon since I was 12. I'm 29. It's a long time.
it varied by the years. Sometimes when he lived close to me, I'd see him often. I could see him every week at sometimes, and then there was other times where he traveled for work, so I might not see him for a couple months. And they also lived further away, so sometimes I wouldn't see him as often.
They were nomadic. They never owned a house. They would just constantly rent. That's what I recall. I think you testified to that. Is that right?
I wouldn't use the word nomadic, but they definitely moved more often than I did.
Okay. And approximately the date you first met Lori Vallow?
It would have been in 2008. I was driving with my then fiance at the time from Texas to Utah, and we went through Phoenix, and I met the Cox family at that time.
Okay. And would you agree with me that Lori Vallow and Alex Cox had a very, very close relationship?
It was on again, off again. There was times where it was very close, and there's times when they wouldn't see each other very often, but they knew each other very well.
Well, are you aware that it seemed that every time Lori moved, Alex would follow her and move to where she would move
That's
to?
not true, actually.
Not always. Yes, sometimes that did happen, but other times no.
And more often than not, though.
No. No,
depending,
dumbass.
like,
We all moved. Everybody moved from California to Texas at some point, and then everybody kind of dispersed. Then we all kind of moved to Arizona, slowly, by the way. And then Alex, like I've told you guys, Alex was like the lone wolf type of person. Like, dude did not, just kind of always was on his own. He didn't show up till way around, at least for me, noticing what was going on. Alex showed up before our wedding, and that's in the end of 2017 to the January of 2018. So like it was noticeable that Alex was around. No, he didn't just show up everywhere. We all kind of migrated to the same places, which I never really noticed that, because in Arizona is when I was like, oh wow, we all live here now. That was a big deal.
There were times where Alex lived with in Arizona with us, and Lori left to Hawaii for a few years. But then there was other times I agree with you where they all moved from Texas to Arizona together and things like that. And
on the subject of Hawaii, during the time that Lori left JJ with Charles for that 2-month period, and I believe that was January and February of 19. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, it might have gone into March a little bit too, but yeah, that time frame sounds right.
And during that time, are you aware that she was residing and staying in Hawaii?
I don't know where she lived at that time. I didn't have any contact with her.
Okay. And at the time you were married to her niece, so you guys didn't discuss Lori's whereabouts as being in Hawaii for 2.5 months.
Well, my wife said she didn't know where she was.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that was true. I just know that's what she said.
Okay. Now, would you agree with me that Tylee and JJ had a very, very close relationship?
Yeah, I mean, they were brother and sister, so I would say they were close.
Well, more than that, isn't it true that for all practical purposes, Tylee was really like the second mother to JJ and caring for JJ?
It's a weird narrative that you're trying to spin here. I don't know why it's so important to him to spin a narrative that Tylee was like a mother. Did Tylee act more maternal towards JJ? 1000%, and took care of him. But because of Lori being so unstable, and Tylee being way more direct and being way more caring. But Tylee, I honestly don't feel that Tylee was forced until possibly towards the end to really be like fully in charge of JJ, right? Like Lori still took that burden on or hired someone. Exactly. That's their brother and sister. But there's like Pryor's like painting a narrative that Tylee like literally was like the other, like a mom. You know what I mean?
It depended. I mean, she was a teenager, so there was definitely times where that wasn't the case. But there was also times where she was a nurturer for JJ. I mean, she loved him, but she was, like I said, she's a teenager, so that was not her primary responsibility for sure.
But did you observe JJ looking at that in maybe a different perspective? That
No.
he relied on Tylee for a lot of things and things that maybe Lori wasn't providing for him?
No.
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Did you observe anything to that effect?
And JJ was special needs, so I don't know that I could have identified that JJ could have. I mean, JJ needed every adult or anyone who was there to help him. You know, that's what he needed. And I definitely remember during that time when Charles had him, he missed his mom a lot. Charles brought it up in those same emails a lot, and it broke your heart.
And after Lori got back from Hawaii in March, early March, there was an attempt at reconciliation.
Yeah, they did try.
And at that point, did Charles confide in you that he actually was convinced by Lori to make Lori the beneficiary of his life insurance policy again?
Charles didn't talk to me about his life insurance policy. Charles did not talk to me about his life insurance policy.
So he never discussed with you finances or anything like that?
We talked about financial stuff, but he never talked to me about his life insurance policy.
Okay. So you're not aware that the life insurance policy was placed in Lori Vallow's name during this reconciliation period then, correct?
I would have no ability to testify to
Okay,
that.
okay. You brought up the subject of Melanie Gibb.
Oh my gosh, bro. You gotta get over it. What the hell? You guys, someone said this a couple weeks ago or last week when we started this. You were right. He's obsessed with Gibb. Why are they pinning this on Gibb? I'm so confused. Do I like Gibb? No. Do I think that she's way more guilty than she ever came off? Yes. Do I think that she in the end flipped and sort of kind of did the right thing in a sense by testifying against what she knew? Kind of, sure. But not Gibb, bro. Not again. You can't be seriously trying to pin this on her.
And my recollection of your testimony is that you found it unusual that Melanie Gibb was there for Christmas of 2018.
Yes.
And I can't recall if you had said that they seemed to have a close bond at that point. How would you characterize their bond at that point?
Who's they?
Melanie Gibb and Lori Vallow.
Okay.
Dog.
Yeah, it seemed like they definitely had a closer bond.
And are you aware of when Melanie Gibb and Lori first met?
Why does this matter? Your client is guilty. You've got to stop this, Pryor. You've got to stop with this obsession. This is weird. This is really weird. Why are you pinning it on Lori? Why is it specifically Melanie Gibb?
I can't testify to when they met.
Did your wife participate in these gatherings in August, September, and October with Melanie Gibb and Lori?
I believe so.
Yeah. And these gatherings in August, September, and October of 2018 were what you described as these fireside chats?
And I think they went past October. I think they were in November as well, in December.
But they started in the mid to early summer of that year. Is that right?
I can't say when Melanie's very first one was.
Okay. And were you aware that Melanie Gibb was the organizer and planner of all of these events?
I can't tell.
Taylor, that's sad. That's insane. Why can't it just be over? Gibb is so irrelevant in that sense. Like, it's not her.
Testify who planned them.
Okay. It wasn't your wife who was planning them?
I don't think so. It would have been without my knowledge.
Okay. And you found it unusual that Melanie was there at your Christmas holiday for what would be deemed a family holiday. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you happen to recall seeing a gentleman by the name of David Warwick at Christmas that year as well with Melanie?
No.
No.
Okay.
Warwick didn't even come to Christmas. Oh my gosh. Why is he so obsessed with him?
Now, you touched on a little bit about the temple, and I don't want to cover this too much, but in terms of the temples, what I don't understand is when someone goes to the temple in your faith, they do that as part of the marriage process in the beginning, right? To sort of the bond. It's a bonding, or you bond with each other, or I'm grasping for the word seal. You're sealing.
You're bonding. You're bonding. You don't go to the temple to bond, brother. The frick?
Is that the word?
There's a few things that you can do at the temple. You can go and do something called baptisms for the dead, where you can.
Well, I want to talk about. We'll get there in a minute.
Okay.
I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time on that, but I'm as part of the marriage process. You seal with each other as part of the marriage process when a couple first gets married, right?
Yeah, we have something where you can be sealed to your spouse for time and all eternity, is what we call it.
Okay. And regardless of what happens.
So let me go through this real quick, just so you guys have more context. Okay, in the LDS faith, you have to go through certain progression to get to the temple to be able to get sealed. There's like a worthiness in a sense where like you are following your, I don't know what the word would be, but you're kind of following. You follow a certain set of like rules that you don't break, so you can actually be worthy enough to go and get married in the temple. And then when you get married in the temple, you can get sealed. But that's like an actual temple thing that you like schedule and like someone does it for you. Lori and that group, of the gatherers did stuff in the temple by themselves in separate rooms and called it official because it was in the building. So there's this session where you watch these videos and then you go from room to room to room. And then at the end of the day, you go into this one room where you can sit in there. It's this really big room and you just kind of can be in there for as long as you want. There's no time limit on that room. And a lot of people go in there and just like, or have their head bowed, pray, whatever. And that is where Lori and this group of people like Gibbs and possibly Boudreaux and all these people would go into that room at the end of all of those sessions, and they would do stuff like themselves, which is even weirder because it wouldn't technically count. If you were LDS, you would know that doesn't make sense because that's not how it works. But they would marry themselves, or they would, whatever they were doing in there, that's the things that they always refer to like temple work, but they were just doing it in those rooms by themselves. No one was officially leading them through that, you know?
Happens, you're sealed, even if it means divorce or otherwise, right?
No, not quite. But
Okay.
I mean, we make promises to God.
Okay.
And with
Jason
those,
Mao sealed Lori and Chad while Tammy was alive. Jason Mao sealed them. You can't just do it. That is as powerful as me doing it right now. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter where you do it. You don't even have, by your own religion, you don't even have the freaking ability to do that. And you would know that in your own religion. So that's even more weird.
covenants, if you keep those, we believe he gave authority to the person who seals you to be able to stay married even after you die.
Right.
But obviously with any covenant, if you don't keep your promises to God, then you can break that and it's no longer
Right.
sealed.
Right. And that's something that's important in the LDS faith, is to keep your covenant to God, right?
I would hope for most people, if they believe in God and they make a promise with him, that they would want to keep it.
So
Big fans
and
of
I don't want to
blasphemy.
spend a lot of
You're
time on
not
this,
wrong.
but the sealing is also a process in which you,
By the way, I had heard of Jason Mao as well. I think Jason Mao had some books, and my mom wanted me to read a book of his, and I think that was a long time ago. I think he wrote a book about like warrior men or something to that degree. And I told her, first of all, I don't read. And secondly, I didn't give a shit. So I never read it, but I remember that name as well. But I didn't know that she knew him. I don't remember if I knew that. I could know that if it was covered in last trial, but I know that I've heard that name.
and I'm trying to be careful about the way I phrase this, so correct me if I'm wrong. You stand in for somebody else who has passed away or is no longer alive, and you baptize them as a proxy for them. Is that kind of what goes on there?
Sealing or baptizing? Because you said baptize.
Well, sealing. There's a sealing process about being a proxy for someone who's passed on, right?
No.
Yeah. So if I can be sealed to my wife here living, and that's something that I want to do, then I have that option. And for those who passed on, we practice in proxy is what we call it, but we practice the process of doing that.
Oh, Kelsey said Jason Mao did the podcast with Lori. So they had met.
For them so that it could be done here on earth, so that if it's something that they wanted, they could have that option in heaven.
So when they pass on, you're helping them move on to heaven. Is that really what that's all about?
The process would be up to them to choose, right? But
Okay.
yes, we're going through the process here in behalf of them.
Well, you mentioned the baptism then, and that's what I'm a little confused about. So you're
Taylor is the class of 96, meaning she was born in 96. Me too.
you baptize people who have passed on as well.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to beyond the scope of direct.
Overruled.
So-
But Mr. Pryor, there needs to be some relevance as well, so it's
Okay.
narrow.
Well, Judge, I think I'm going to move on. This was
move
more
on, bud.
curiosity than was anything else. So
Okay,
let's
then
move on.
Not
Yeah.
relevant if it's just
Yeah,
curiosity.
just
So
talking.
Yeah, let's move on then.
Get to the point.
As part of these fireside
He wasn't there.
issues, have you ever heard of an organization or a group preparing the people?
I have, yes.
And that's an organization that sort of caters to people of your faith about being ready for the second coming. Would that be fair?
I don't know if I would agree with that statement, but
Yeah, this is the thing we need to understand. This is irrelevant because it's all about this group taking the LDS faith and stretching it to their own.
so I guess I would say no for me.
Okay, well, not for you, but in general for people who are participating in those preparing the people rallies or conventions or firesides. Really, the theme is what to do after the second coming or preparing in case of an emergency, something of that effect. Would that be fair?
I've never been to some things. I can't testify as to what they believe.
Okay. Is that something that would be considered outside the realm of your faith, or not something you should be looking into as part of your faith?
I mean, I think each person has to decide what they're interested in and what things apply to their faith.
Yeah, it's such a
But obviously,
broad-
if there are some things that you're engaging in that are contrary to the faith, then you don't get to choose that, right?
The church can occasionally come out, right, like any organization, and say, hey, these are things that don't apply to our
Okay.
faith.
So having visions, have you heard about people who are blessed with the ability to have divine visions and be able to see events that are occurring in the future?
I have never had any visions, and I don't know anybody who I personally believe that I know personally who's had a vision.
Okay. And then having seances, like conducting a seance, is that something that you're
Seance is not. It is a seance. I'll give him this. I'll give Pryor one thing. What Lori, Melanie, all of that group was doing was seancing. It was not praying. It was horrible. It was seancing for literally unaliving people. So yes, that is technically seancing. But what he needs to understand is that he's trying to make it look like that it's just normal church stuff, because that makes Chad look like he's not crazy.
wife was doing as part of this back starting in the summer of 2018? Is she engaging in seances?
I can't testify to that because I don't know.
Okay. Did she talk to you anything about conducting vibrations and having vibration movements as part of
Has she talked to you about vibrations or having vibration movements? At this point, you've heard it enough to where you could ask a clear question.
these seances?
She didn't
Nothing
talk
like
to me
that?
about that.
Okay.
Vibration movements is crazy.
And the discussion of light and dark, you talked a little bit about Chad Daybell and that there was some discussion about light and dark, right? But
Yes.
that's not necessarily inconsistent with your faith. Your faith is talks about it in a number of your publications about light spirits and dark spirits. Isn't that true?
We don't talk about light spirits and dark spirits. No,
No, there's nothing in the faith that talks about light or dark spirits, right?
nothing in what I've been taught. I mean, it's a large faith. There's a lot of information. So
Okay, so you're just not aware of whether that's taught in your faith or not. Is that fair?
I've been going to my church for a really long time and I've never experienced it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Redirect.
The state has no redirect, Your Honor.
All right.
See
Are
how
there any?
respectful Rob is compared to him. It's not even funny. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Brandon's. We look like we're looking at some more time we might put in. We might do 2. I've been saying that to you guys. Tomorrow, let's see what we got in this list. We've got. Oh, we can watch this right now. Hold on, we're gonna watch this. This is 1 minute. I've never seen this, so I want to hear this. This is. Oh, that's the wrong side. We're gonna watch this real quick. I know I didn't tell you we're gonna watch this, but we're gonna watch this. It's literally 1 minute. It's Chad calling 911 about Tammy. Get over my ear and go back in my ear. Sorry, I'm talking to my headphone. Okay, let's watch this real quick.
911, where's your emergency?
We're at 202 North, 1900 East.
What's going on?
We just found my mom. She's on the ground frozen, or she's stiff, and I don't know.
What? Hold on, that's not even Chad. He said my mom.
Are you in Madison County or Fremont County?
Well, I'm Chad, the husband. She's clearly dead.
Oh,
We don't
so
know.
sorry. Okay. Okay. Are you in Rexburg or because your address shows Rexburg address that you're in Fremont County?
It's a mile past.
Okay.
Anyway. Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, she's not even. She's frozen.
Okay. Can I get your name?
Chad Daybell. Oh man. Oh.
Okay, Chad. I'm gonna get somebody up to you right now.
Oh yeah, but you had a premonition she'd die early. So why would you be surprised? That makes no sense.
Okay.
That's sad to
Yeah, the
bring your
corner
kids
where the
into it.
blinking yellow light is with the red house.
Yes, sir. Red house on the corner,
Yes.
blinking yellow light.
Right.
Okay. We'll get somebody out to you, okay? I'm so sorry.
Okay.
If you need anything else,
You didn't give a fuck. You're such a sick person. I want to get away from you on the screen. Fuck you. Let me be honest with you. First of all, you married Lori. So you were this sad, but then you married Lori weeks later. Weeks later, you were on the beach in Kauai getting married, having a honeymoon at the same time. You're a piece of shit. And you put your kids through that. I don't know where his kids sit at. Regardless, that's sad. That's sad as hell. And even if they're nuts, I don't care. That's sad as hell to have to do that because your dad is nuts and has indoctrinated you your whole life. That's sad. That's freaking sad. That's not fair. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. What's new? All right, guys. Tomorrow, I'll get a thumbnail up for you and a live up for you. Thank you guys for being here today. Brandon's is always hard to listen to, and I feel like there's big differences between Lori's and his. Like the trials, I feel like there's just more detail in this one. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong, but this is insane. We're gonna get to a couple more things in here. I am going to skip the corner. I don't need to hear that. I don't think I can handle that. I don't want to get into details, and I don't think it provides any more context for me to hear about their bodies, to be honest with you. So I don't really want to get into that. I'll let you know what we're watching tomorrow. If they're shorter, then we'll back to back. If not, if they're longer, then we'll go from there. But love you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And don't forget about the giveaway. Please go enter it if you're wanting to win. We have 5 more days till we do the winners for both the members and for the regular community. And thank you guys for being here, and really do appreciate you. Thank you.